In this video, I want to discuss what I think is a reasonable budget to start your trading journey with. So, most times when we're just getting to trading, we aren't very knowledgeable about how it will go or how it really works and what it takes to be a successful and profitable trader. So, we might find ourselves hesitant about how much money to start with, thinking the less money I start with, the less money I can lose, and while I learn, right? So, in some cases, that is true, but also the less money you start with, the harder it is for you to actually see how the market really works and what really is necessary in order for you to make real profits and actually use trading for a full-time or supplementary income. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about my experience using different budgets, what I've learned, and what I think is the ideal budget for anyone to start with while we're looking at this chart here. So when I initially started trading, that was August 17, 2024. I started out with several $100s, right? I think, let's say $800 in total I started out with. And a part of this money went towards subscription fees that I would pay for mentorship and live trade with people who are way ahead of me in the trading game, right? So by working with them, I had to pay a little bit of fee, which I do consider as a part of the money that I started with, right? So you want to consider any money that you invest outside of actually purchasing our stocks or shares or contracts or whatever it is that you're trading. You want to consider any additional money such as subscription fees or mentorship fees or even your trading view fee, for example, as a part of the budget that you start with. So I started out with around $700, and within 1 month I blew that account. And the reason why I blew that account is the learning phase, right? So when you just jump into this field, especially if like from one of your first trades you actually make some money, you might not know how to handle that kind of power, right? And it might cause you to over leverage, spend too much money on your trades, and so on and so forth, and you end up losing a lot of money. So that's kind of what happened to me in my first round. Then from there, I decided to go in again, and I put in a few $100, maybe $300 again, and I'm taking my little time trading. Of course, I do options trading, right, on Think or Swim. So I trade options on the US stock market, and I'm purchasing maybe 3 contracts per day with that $300, and I'm being very careful, and I'm making about $30 profit per day, right? But of course, this requires so much patience, and even if you are 90% accurate, it's very hard to trade with this little bit amount of money because of the patience that's required. So if you do have a lot of patience, definitely this can work. And if you're only using this small amount of money to learn different trading systems and to see how the market reacts and study different time frames and learn to execute your plans, then that is totally fine. And I do think starting out with maybe, let's say $500, $300 to $500 to test out what you have learned and try to apply your knowledge to the market, I think that might be a better option than paper trading, for example. But when you're really ready to go full throttle in trading and to actually up your trading game and make a substantial amount of money, then what I think is the ideal budget for you to start with is $5,000. Between $1,000 to $5,000 gives you enough opportunities and leverage to make good enough money per day so that you can actually feel comfortable in what you're doing, but it also helps you to be able to trade without, it gives you like a little bit of wiggle room to trade, right? So let's say you only have, let's say $200, right? You can only buy so many contracts, and if you make 20% profit on $200, that's just $40 for the day, and that is okay. You can compound that $40 over time, right? But what happens if you lose 20% on one day? you're down to 160, right? And it's just so much harder to get back to that $200 level because you don't have any more money to trade with, right? But say you have $1,000 account, you can still like enter 5 trades for the day. So you can go into the first trade with only $1,000, and let's say you lose the $40. You can go into a second trade or a third trade that same day, and you can recover that 20%, and you can walk away with $100 profit, for example, for the day. When you have more money, you can trade more, you can trade bigger sizes, and it's easier to manage your risk, right? You're still gonna follow your same risk management techniques. You're still gonna follow your same stop losses and your profit targets. So if it's 20% with a small account, it will still be 20% with a larger account, right? But at the same time, there's just more liquidity at your fingertips. So you're able to do more. You're able to achieve more in a shorter space of time, which builds your momentum quickly. So, for example, if you had like a $500 account and you did $150 in 1 month, that would be some progress. That would be more than 20%, like 22.5% growth in your account. But if you had a $5,000 account and you grew the same amount to 12.5% in a month, that would be 1,500, right? So next month you're starting with $6,500 instead, and like you can purchase more contracts, and you can just the earning potential is just so much greater. So for me, I in April I decided to go in with, that is April 2025. I decided to go in with a bit more money, so I started out with $5,000. And the thing that you want to pay quick attention to, or good attention to, is that you're not letting the amount of money that you have make you act carelessly. As in, you're not gonna think, oh, because I have $5,000, I can buy 50 contracts at the start of a trade, right? You're just gonna buy maybe 20. You're gonna like trade with no more than 20% of your account, and on a $5,000 account, maybe no more than $500 per trade, and you're still gonna honor your stop losses and your targets. So you're still gonna be very disciplined. And initially, when I was starting out with $5,000, I still had the mentality of trading as if I had only $100, right? So what actually happened was I allowed my trade to get away from me, and I was down like $1,400. But thankfully, I was able to recover all of that loss and actually made quite substantial profits. So when you have bigger money to trade with, of course, you want to be more disciplined so that you keep your losses small, because on a small account where you have like $100, like 5% profit is only $5. If you're trading with $5,000 and you do multiple trades, 5% profit for the day could be $250, right? That could be $250 for the day. So you have to be willing to not try to triple your account in a single setting, right? And take minimal losses. So anyways, hope you guys got the gist of what I'm trying to say in this video. I think the ideal amount of money to start with as a trader is 5,000 US dollars. This will give you enough leverage and wiggle room to learn the market substantially while making good amounts of profit. And if you have good risk management, you can manage your trades well, right? But between 1,000 to 5,000 is ideal. And yeah, if you have any questions about this, or you want to ask any questions about anything regarding to trading, options trading, you can let me know in the comments. Or if there's any insight that you want to share on this topic, do let me know in the comments as well. I'm happy to assist in any way that I can, and I'm happy to hear from you as well. Also, do like, subscribe, and share if you think this video will help anyone. And if you want to see more of my content, I would genuinely appreciate your support. Now, last thing, I'll be making another video showing you the indicators that I use to day trade and how I think they work, right? So tune in for that, and I'll see you in the next video.